Alright, so the DCU is in major trouble. James Gunn and Peter Safran have a lot of work to do, and I'm not sure if they're the right guys cut out for the job. It feels premature to already say that the DCU is in trouble. They've only had a couple of movies that have come out. Superman was a success. Supergirl, not at all. But people are bringing this up because the slate for the DCEU doesn't look too promising in terms of what's ahead. And then if you couple that with all the recent success Marvel's had with Spider-Man in the box office, the X-Men being announced, and all the Doomsday hype, Marvel is once again in the driving seat in the movie theaters when everything was set up for DC to kind of come in and take over. Marvel was really struggling from 21 to 2024. There was a lot of shit that came out. Phase 4 was completely garbage. Nobody really enjoyed it, and there was not much hype or enthusiasm at all surrounding the MCU. So 2025 came around and things started to change for them. They had Thunderbolts come out and Fantastic Four, which were both received pretty nicely from fans. I mean, people had their issues with both movies, and neither movie is perfect, don't get me wrong, but it was a step back in the right direction. And now you fast forward to 2026, and Spider-Man Brand New Day is one of the biggest movies of all time. It's breaking records at the box office, and it shows that people weren't getting sick and tired of Marvel superhero movies, they were just getting tired of shit movies. My point being with all of this is that there was a window right there for the DC universe to come in and make some major noise. They came out with Superman in 2025, which I thought was a good movie. I enjoyed it, and I think was a step in the right direction for this new universe. Corn Sweat, he feels like Superman. I think he's a good Superman, and I think everything was pointing to a promising future. But then Supergirl came out, and it's one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Yes, did it come out in kind of a weird time with a lot of anticipation for the Odyssey and Spider-Man? Yes, but that shouldn't mean that nobody goes to see this movie, because nobody watched this movie. And I think that's mainly for two reasons. One, there was just no interest in the character of Supergirl. She wasn't built up at all. It's not a big enough name to really carry its own movie franchise without any prior success to really look at besides Superman. That's not enough to just go start making movies on obscure characters in the universe. Like, I don't know why anybody thought it was a good idea to go with a Supergirl movie right after a Superman movie. That's just not how you launch a universe. Supergirl is somebody you could have integrated later on, maybe like a phase 2 or a phase 3 type of thing, kind of like what Marvel did. But no, they didn't do that, and they went with Supergirl instead of a Wonder Woman, a Batman, a Flash, or somebody bigger, and it completely bombed. And it bombed so bad that everybody's questioning if the DC universe should still exist with James Gunn at the helm. And listen, James Gunn, I have my issues with James Gunn. I think there is good movies he's made out there. I think he is a good director for a certain type of film, but to lead a universe, I don't think he can do it. I don't think he has the chops for it, to be honest. I think he's too focused on minute details in movies. I think he wants to make people laugh, and he wants to have his own touch, and his style doesn't fit with every single character in DC. I mean, his style doesn't even really work with Superman, if we're being honest, and there are people who don't enjoy that movie, but I think for the most part, he still made it work. I think what works for Superman the most for me is the tone and the environment, the world that's built within it. It feels like it's ripped right out of a comic book, and I think that's where I give a lot of credit to the film, but that's not going to work every time. The DC universe has Lanterns that just came out. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's just started, so you can't really develop an opinion on it. And then they have Clayface that's also coming out, which could be interesting. Again, you're going with a C-tier Batman level villain that you're introducing in this universe before you're really introducing anybody from Batman's universe. Once again, a really weird decision, but if it's a good movie, I won't say too much, which it very well could be. It could be a great movie, but at the end of the day, is that really going to change anything for the DC universe? I just said, yeah, if it's a good movie, whatever, but it's not going to do anything for setting up the future of this universe, whether it's good or bad. And because of that, I don't know if it's a movie that needed to be made. Now, obviously, their hands are kind of tied with Matt Reeves' The Batman and The Batman Part 2, and whenever the hell that is coming out, that shit's honestly just pissing me off. I don't even care about that movie at this point. It's taken so long. But yeah, I think that has a big factor as to why we're kind of in a limbo stage with the DC universe, because they can't really make another Batman movie until we figure out what's going on with Pattinson's Batman, because you don't want to have two Batmans on screen at the same time, and I think that's just stupid anyways. So a lot of fans have been bringing up the idea that maybe you just have Robert Pattinson's Batman join the DC universe, which would kind of feel out of place with the tone Matt Reeves was going with some of his movies. But if we're getting these different type of style movies anyways, then I don't see why you can't at least try it, because I do think Matt Reeves' The Batman project is too good of a project to just completely throw away. We can't just not do anything with it now. There's too much that has gone into it. There's been spin-offs. It's setting up a universe, and it has its own feel and story that I want to see play out. But in order for the DC universe to succeed, they need to have a Batman. Batman and Superman are crucial to any success the DC universe is going to have, and if you don't have both of them, that's going to be a problem. I think another thing the guys over at DC got to do as well is start looking at casting other members of the Justice League that are actually important, like a Wonder Woman. You didn't want to bring Gal Gadot back, which is fine, but you got to bring somebody else in. You got to cast somebody, and you got to get Wonder Woman integrated into this universe. Another pillar of DC, another character you're definitely going to want to build a foundation off of, and the fact that we're going to be making movies in 2027 and we still don't even have a Wonder Woman cast or even a rumor, that's a major concern. Then to complete the Mount Rushmore of DC kinda, I would say the Flash is there. In terms of the past 15 to 20 years, he's one of the biggest characters to come out of DC. TV, films, comic stories, he is very significant. So the Flash is another character you're going to want to get involved in this universe, but you gotta wait a bit. You had the Ezra Miller shit that just went down. You had that abysmal Flash movie not too long ago. You gotta let that movie marinate and sit there for a bit before you go and make another Flash movie. So unfortunately, I think their hands are kind of tied with the Flash. I don't think they can really do much for him right now, which is a major blow, but you can still work around it. I think a lot is riding on this Lanterns TV show for DC as well, to be honest. Green Lantern's one of the biggest characters in the DC universe. The Lantern Corps connects Earth to the cosmic realm, and it will set up a lot of different stories. We'll see what the show brings us. I mean, it's so early on, but from the feel and the vibe I get from it, I don't think we're going to get very cosmic at all, but hopefully I'm wrong, because this show does need to set a lot up. Superman 2 is coming out next year, and that's a good thing, so I would definitely keep that in the slate and keep growing characters in the universe through these Superman movies. I like what they did in the first one with Mr. Terrific and things like that. I want to see more characters in these movies turn into spin-offs, not the Jimmy Olsen show. I don't know why the hell that's happening, but the important superheroes that I feel like deserve their own movies or shows. So to answer the ultimate question, do I think the DC universe is in trouble? Yeah, I kinda do, to be honest. And it's for one reason only. Marvel's turned up the gear lately. Spider-Man's a massive success. The X-Men just got announced. Doomsday is around the corner. And all DC has right now is Clayface. So yeah, the pressure is on James Gunn and Peter Safran here, 150%. You can only have so many bombs like Supergirl. That can't happen often. And when Marvel's having all this success, you gotta retaliate in some sort of way. If I'm DC right now, I think you gotta bring Batman into this universe. You gotta use Pattinson's. It's unfortunate, I know, whatever. But you got to bring Pattinson's Batman into this. You got to get a Wonder Woman cast. And you got to start assembling the Justice League, but throughout their own properties. We don't need a Justice League movie. Instead of trying to play keep up with Marvel, establish your characters in your own universe and then go for the big ensemble movie. If they scrap most of this upcoming slate, like the Jimmy Olsen show and garbage like that, and start using characters people care about, I think the DC universe will be right back on track. One flop isn't going to completely sink the universe. It's not going to sink the ship. Superman 2 is still coming, and that could still be a major success. But besides that, if you don't start bringing in some of these big hitters in DC, Marvel is going to eat you alive with literally just the X-Men and Spider-Man. And honestly, if the DC universe crumbles again and has another cinematic universe flop for the second time in the past 20 years, I think it's going to be a really long time before they decide to try this again with these DC characters. Which would suck, and which means we will probably never get some of the greatest comic stories ever told put to screen. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments. Do you think the DC universe is cooked? Do you think James Gunn can bring it back? Or do you think everything is just fine?